Good morning, guys. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I just finished reading a book, and so it's called Raging Waves: One Woman's Victory Over Multiple Personality by Connie Winter. So I'm doing a book review today and going to talk a little bit about multiple personality disorder. I recommend this book. It is light, easy to read. The author is genuine, and it's faith based. So if you're looking for something that, if you're a conspiracy person like I am and have been researching into multiple personalities, psychological abuse, dissociative identity disorder, shattered personalities, that sort of thing, this book is nice because it won't leave you too traumatized. It's a little bit lighter material. A lot of multiple personality disorders have a history of child abuse, most of them, if not all of them, but a lot of them have pedo stuff going on, which is extremely difficult to read. This one didn't. So this was just your everyday run-of-the-mill, regular traumatizing experiences in childhood that made this woman, Connie Winter's personalities fragment. So I recommend it if you're interested in this line of a rabbit hole in this area of work. She had strong faith, and spoiler alert, in the end, Jesus Christ healed her. So ultimately, he was responsible for all of it. He led her to the right people, and she got the healing she needed. So a little bit about the book, just like a quick summary. She had her personality fractured by traumatic events in her home. She had a mother and a father who were pretty normal by any standard of, I guess, looking at the situation. They were just really emotionally immature, psychologically immature. They didn't handle things properly. And when there were moments of shock for little Mary Ellen, at the time was what she was called, the little girl, her personality splintered at the age of 6 and 7 into 5 different parts. Her core personality was Connie, the survivor. The little girl part of her was Mary Ellen, who would cry and was very fearful. Connie was the survivor who didn't cry, who looked for ways to get help. And then she had Jenny A and Jenny B. This was her manic and depressive side. Her personalities that would get really elated and very high and get into charismatic kind of Protestant movements and really emotionally driven, extreme highs, wanting to evangelize everyone. And then that was Jenny A, I believe. And Jenny B was the depressed one. No one loves me. Everything is terrible. And then the 5th and final personality was named Oscar. And this was a really angry personality, violent personality, would throw things, kind of the protector personality. So they were with her, and she kept it a secret because she didn't want to be carted off to the loony bin. So she just suffered in silence for over 30 years with these 5 personalities. She couldn't see properly. She didn't know like bodily boundaries because each of the different personalities was seeing something different. She had actual physical ailments because of her splintered personality, so it would show up physically in her body. I highly recommend this book. It was very readable. It was digestible. It's good for your soul because I think when we meet people out in the world that are weird, that have weird personalities, it's easy to jump to conclusions where the reality is like everybody's story is so unique and different. And I like the element of faith here and the happy ending, which is such a different vibe from the normal reading and research I do on dissociative personality disorders, dissociative identity disorders. So yes, Raging Waves, if you're looking for something a little bit lighter. It did have a few moments of sadness, but nothing like the normal reading of conspiracy stuff into MK Ultra, monarch mind control, ritual abuse, things like that, satanic rings that are normally associated with this line of study. So on that, I'm going to switch a little bit and talk about some of the work I have read to prepare me for this and to kind of set the background, more of the heavy stuff. So if you're not interested in the heavy stuff, this is the time to switch off and go ahead and get this book and enjoy your light reading on multiple personality disorders with Connie Winter. So to inform this and to get darker, so a lot of the research I've done on how multiple personality disorder happens, which is when your personality gets shattered by abuse, is from a more nefarious place of people doing it to children on purpose so they can control your personalities. So they can create your personalities on purpose and then control them on purpose so you are their slave. So it's very abusive. It's very effective for those in charge that they can have slaves that are not even aware that they're slaves. So it's like we have evolved, if you will, with science of how to torture a child with drugs, with psychological manipulation and abuse, with sexual abuse, so that they grow up, or even in their whatever age they're at, to be completely controlled by their handler. So some background information on that. Good reading would be, I have one, two, three, four different books to show you, four different authors that will inform some of this behavior, and that it's really out there. So if you're not aware of this, it is very difficult reading. It will take you maybe a few months to recover if you're new to the work after reading some of this material and seeing how dark it can really get out there and what's really going on to this day. And at the same time, if you can get through it, it's good for your soul. We are not black pilled here at this channel. So um, getting into this dark stuff can really pill you, which means, everything's depressing, the world is terrible. But we're white pilled over here, which means eventually Christ is with you and you can get through anything with his help. So that said, I would say the heaviest hitter, and I want to thank my good friend Jamie Hanshaw, who has introduced me to this material. Without her, I would not be anywhere near as educated on this subject as I am. So I'm giving her a big shout out. Her channel is out of this world on YouTube. She is the queen of this kind of stuff, so I would go check her out. So she's introduced me to this material. That said, this is Fritz Springmeyer. He's written a few books, but these are the ones on monarch mind control and MK Ultra. This one, the big one, is called How the Illuminati Create an Undetectable Mind Control Slave. This goes into the details about how to create your own slave from their point of view. How to torture a child, how to split their personality with very specific, scientifically tested abuse protocol to create exactly what you're looking for. It talks about ritual abuse, ceremonial abuse, satanic abuse. It talks about love bombing for a child. It talks about drugs, how to use the use of drugs in order to control a child and to manipulate a child while this is all happening. It talks about the history of MK Ultra. Talks about like dissociation in general and why that is appealing for them to use, to put you in a dissociated state. The use of hypnotic triggers and cues so they can control you. Dehumanization. Misuse of scriptures, really programming you to associate scripture and God with things that are scary to keep you away from that. Teaching of occult philosophies and ideologies, and a little bit of demonology. So, and how they can actually, if you want to get real esoteric and deep, how they can embed you with a demon while they're doing this, the demons that they work with. So, dark. Yes, I would recommend it. I would recommend giving yourself time for recovery after it. So that's Fritz Springmeyer. Second author would be Kerth Barker. Cannibalism, Blood Drinking, and High-Adept Satanism. This guy, as a child, was kind of kidnapped, but not kidnapped. His parents just weren't watching. And to this Mormon offshoot cult They used drugs, they used torturing of children, and they tried to make him split his personality, one into a man, or excuse me, a boy and one into a girl. But luckily, he actually didn't splinter his personalities. He kept his wits about him and was able to write about it later in all detail about how they did it. They used drugs from veterinarians, like horse vets, dog vets. They have all sorts of drugs there. And they were able to use that against the children because you have easy access to drugs. So now when I go to the dog vet, I'm always very wary of the vets, of being like, what are you, because they have access to those really potent drugs, right? That if you're a bad person, you can use to your own will if you know about this stuff. So that's Kerth Barker. Again, this is probably some of the darkest reading I've ever done, especially the cannibalism stuff. It really is dark, guys. So I don't recommend it if you are not looking to be depressed for a little while, because it will depress you. It's extremely dark. But I appreciate his work. He's come through it. He's also a Christian. Thank God that we have these people that have been through these things to expose what's going on, and that we can prepare ourselves against psychological manipulation and our children and those around us. So thank you to Kerth Barker. Next, I have Cathy O'Brien's book, Transformation of America, The True Life Story of a CIA Mind Control Slave, by Cathy O'Brien and Mark Phillips. She purports that she was a high-level MK Ultra Monarch program slave for the CIA. So she was involved in the blackmail operations that go on at a government level. If you're following the Epstein saga or the Diddy saga, how this is on a grand level, this isn't like these one-off people. This is a criminal enterprise that's on purpose so people can be controlled. Mind control and psychological abuse is at the heart of it. This is how it all runs, and she was part of that world. So it gives you a little insight into higher elite forms of this manipulation for our government officials and the role she played in it. It's been a while since I've read this. Forgive me. I don't know. I don't remember all the details, but there are some really gross parts. So it's not quite as intense as Kerth Barker, but it's worth the read. It's also pretty popular among conspiracy circles, so it's kind of like one of the conspiracy musts. But there you go, Cathy O'Brien. And finally, my friend Jamie's book, Weird Stuff, Hollywood Mind Control. So she has actually written 3 books. This is one of them, on mind control. And she talks a lot about how we can be mind controlled at a cultural level with our pop stars. This is kind of my favorite part that she talks about. She talks a lot about Beyonce. I think that may be a different book, but Lady Gaga, and how children are basically raised and bred to follow these pop stars and go with them through trauma to create some kind of slave that they have created in society to go the way that they want society to go without actually doing it one-on-one. Now you can do it in mass with these pop stars. So, and of course, she talks about how the monarch butterfly is their symbol. And you can really see, here's a picture of Lady Gaga, right, with all of her butterflies. So if you look at it, a lot of these different pop stars will have photo shoots with them covered in butterflies or holding a butterfly. I used to be a huge fan of Mariah Carey, and she always had butterflies all over her work, over her rings, her jewelry. So this is really good for girls. I think she made it, I know she made it as like a coffee table book to kind of introduce this really dark material for parents, teenagers, for us to be aware of what's going on with pop stars and how we're being mind controlled with our pop culture. So I highly recommend Weird Stuff Magazine by Jamie Hanshaw. Again, it is dark, but it's readable and it's fun, and it'll give you a really good intro into what's going on and how to protect yourself there. So this won't necessarily, I think, on the pop level, create multiple personality disorder for you. But it certainly shows how psychological manipulation and abuse is very real and very apparent in our society today, and maybe make you second guess watching the news or watching a movie, and make you aware of what you're watching, that it is propaganda and it is intentional to make you feel a certain way, to drive you to a certain way of behaving. So all that to be said, that's kind of background to my original book, Raging Waves, which was not quite as deep on abuse on a grand scale, but it was very basic of how the mind can splinter with abuse and how it can be overcome with the help of Jesus Christ. Thank God. So there you go. I highly recommend it. Please leave any comments if you guys have done any research in this area. And I will be back on soon.